Okay, this next idea is a really important one. This is the concept of mental bandwidth. That's how much attention we have to focus on something at any given time. When you're starting out, you're probably going to need all of your mental bandwidth focused on getting good sounding chords, for example, which is fine. As you get better and more comfortable with your chords, you won't need all of that mental bandwidth to get a good sounding chord. So that's what our left hand is doing, focusing on good sounding chords. But then you also start learning how to strum because, we got to do that when we're playing the guitar. So you start thinking about that right hand, and you need all of your mental bandwidth for that as well. This is what trips up a lot of people when they're starting out. They'll start practicing chord progressions and they'll go to change chords. And they'll be like, why does it sound bad? I had great sounding chords just before. They'll get all discouraged. But the problem is, they're not thinking about this idea of mental bandwidth. When they were working on their chords before, they needed 100% of that mental bandwidth in order to play the chord with good clarity. They also need 100% of their mental bandwidth in order to strum through the chord change. That's 200%. We obviously don't have that. So when they're working on strumming through the chord change, maybe 80% of their mental bandwidth is taken up with the strumming. That leaves 20%, a little bit, for the chords. But we needed 100, but we've only got 20. So it makes sense that the chords are gonna kind of sound a bit messy when we're working on the strumming. We aren't concerned about the chords when we're working on the strumming. As we get better at each of these things, and as each of these things take up less of our mental bandwidth, then we'll be able to do both of them only using 70% total mental bandwidth. Then we can increase our speed, which reduces the amount of mental bandwidth we have. Now we're playing a bit faster, but we've maxed out our mental bandwidth again. This concept of mental bandwidth is so important because it helps you direct the focus of your practice. If you're working on your strumming, you shouldn't be concerned with how rough your chord changes might sound. You are working on chord clarity separately. If you're judging your practice and you think, man, that sucked because your chords didn't sound good, but your strumming was perfect, you're beating yourself up for no reason. We're working on two separate things that will come together. That's actually the next point. We want to have a clear goal for each aspect of our practice. Like I said before with our mental bandwidth example, when we're working on the chords, what our left hand is doing, the goal is to get great clarity, get our fingers used to the shapes. When we're working on our strumming though, the goal is to strum through the chord changes. We couldn't care less about the shapes. If you've stuck around this long, you might enjoy checking out the beginner course linked in the description. If you want to watch something else, YouTube thinks you might enjoy this video. Otherwise, go play some guitar, and I'll see you next time.